welcome back. Daily Show 9:15, a little bit of change. Our friends of OSF Healthcare are back in the building. Brandy, Diane, you're like friend of the show status, I feel like, at this point. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is really cool, and it's just another great thing that OSF Healthcare is doing in St. Anthony's to really help us help ourselves. And this is this rapid diagnosis clinic. Where should we really start on this? Fill me in.
Probably should start with what is a rapid diagnosis clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And rapid diagnosis clinic is exactly what the name is. Try to get you a diagnosis as rapidly as possible.
What is that? What does rapid, I guess, mean? I think is the best way I want to start with that too.
Well, rapid means as quickly as we can. We do everything in our power to get you in to see us as soon as possible. Any testing that you need, any labs that you need, we get them done as quickly as we can. Dana is behind the scenes setting up most of those appointments. And so, the faster we can get you in, the faster we can get you diagnosed.
Well, and this is really important. And I know, Diana, we've talked about, not necessarily just the physical aspects of, battling cancer or those ailments, but the mental side of it, that waiting game of, I got 3 more weeks to my appointment, or I got this to get going. What's this mean for your care team and also the patients you serve, just in your experience and in your role?
It's just faster getting them in when they don't have that waiting. Say for instance, they go into the emergency room and they go in for something else, chronic issue that they're having, and then there's an abnormal finding on their test. That's where we kind of come in on that back end, watching those. The emergency room might refer to us, or I monitor those reports that come through, and you get them in, and those patients know they have something abnormal, and then you're eliminating that waiting game of, I got 2 weeks to my appointment. Sometimes we can get them in same day or within 3 days, and just Brandy can start working them up for a plan to get them their diagnosis and ease some of that.
That's incredible. And really, Brandy, just having that, timeline cut significantly has got to do just so much too for that individual, because just if I was in that position, I'd be a little bit highly wound, to say the least, because, you want to know what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of anxiety related to the waiting. And 100%. So we try to limit that as much as possible too.
Especially when you're dealing with something that could be suggestive as cancer, which is what we're, working up. That's just tenfold on your anxiety levels,
1,000%. And, leading into this, how long has this been operational for?
Oh, we've been going since March. And we kind of done it in phases. Yeah. Okay. I think it's been going since March.
March, kind of starting with the low-dose CT Titan, starting kind of with the emergency room of patients with no primary cares primarily, and then it's just been phases from there, branching it out more.
And, take me through, I guess, that almost year process. What have you guys kind of learned, just within the year almost of the phases and really just seeing the results and hearing the feedback?
For sure.
Patients are appreciative. They like that they can get in, that they can get things done faster. We do, oftentimes, we get the patients in the same day, couple days, and they have a diagnosis, within
a couple weeks sometimes. Yeah, if we have to get them to PET or biopsy or wherever, yeah. Wow.
And so as far as what we've learned is more, I'm seeing more of patients are coming in and being diagnosed with very minimal symptoms. And so the sooner you are in, the sooner you are seen, the sooner you are diagnosed, the better you're going to be, the better your outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
Getting that quick. Yeah. Because they don't know, they're not having many symptoms. So that's
what I was going to ask you, because I, obviously I'm not a medical expert, but how does somebody know if there is anything going on? I mean, whenever you say very, vague symptoms, or what could that even look like? Could they be mistaken for even just having a cold or being sick or anything else?
Yeah. I mean, you can have something like change in your voice, like a hoarse voice. Just a very little change in your bowels, even,
Wow.
a cough that won't go away, you're losing weight and you don't know why.
Excessive fatigue, but maybe, you know.
Well, and honestly, it goes back into a lot of what we talked about is, that the age factor, that it's not, age specific and that all this affects everybody. So to have these services from the Moeller, Center and the Moeller Cancer Center, to add this component into it, I'm sure it just really fits hand in hand with the blueprint that you guys already have there.
Right. Yep. And I think we're seeing that big need for, like I said, the patients that don't have primary cares. We have a big majority that do not have primary care. So you get them through the emergency room, and then we kind of take that part a step further and we get them in, and they leave with those appointments. I'll set them up with their primary care to establish care. We're in their area. So that's a huge piece too.
Absolutely. Do you guys got a moment to take a quick break with me, and we'll come back and talk more about this?
Yep.
While I have you guys, though, even in OSF is in the studio, I do want to fill you in that it is, the bugs going around. People are getting a little sick with the flu or whatever it is. It's yucky season. My daughter's in daycare, and that means that, we're probably going to get sick, and that's where prompt care comes in. You guys have a great prompt care office on Godfrey Road, and if you guys have the opportunity to check it out, whether or not it's for today, maybe you need it in a couple of weeks because you're coming down with something, I highly encourage you. I took my grandma there a couple of years ago, or maybe last year, told you guys a story where we went to one urgent care and we had to wait a couple of hours and there was no one in the waiting room. So we went right down the road to Prompt Care OSF, right by Godfrey Walmart. They treated my grandma like family, in and out, and she was taken care of. And actually, thankfully, so she had pneumonia and things were going pretty bad. So getting her seen and really getting her taken care of under that OSF Healthcare Network. You can learn more, osfhealthcare.org.
Do you need to declutter your space? Time to call me, the Queen of Junk. Since 1993, we have grown to be the leader in residential, commercial, and property management junk removal. At Sparks Junk Removal, we are eco-friendly. We recycle, donate, or repurpose items back into our community. Trash is our last resort to the landfill. Plus, with our all-inclusive service, our crews handle everything from labor to lifting and landfill fees. Give us a call or visit our website, sparksjunkremoval.net, to reclaim your space today.
At Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu, we help students of all ages build confidence, discipline, and real-world strength. Join a supportive community that challenges you to grow both on and off the mat. Experience the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a 7-day free trial at our new location. Call 618-795-2692 or visit altonelite.com to start your journey today. Train hard, serve others, live elite at Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu.
Tomorrow isn't built by dreamers. It's built by doers. Because progress doesn't work unless we do. So at Ameren, we've been hard at work putting energy to work for you. Adding underground cables, installing advanced switches and sensors, storm hardening poles and power lines, making the energy grid stronger today so it can meet your needs tomorrow. Learn about projects in your area at AMEREN.com/energyfuture.
Accidents happen in a heartbeat, but lives change forever. Whether it's a car crash, workplace injury, medical malpractice, or wrongful death, you don't have to face the consequences alone. Keith Short and Associates brings over 33 years of experience and a reputation for fighting fiercely for your rights. For relentless representation that you can trust, call Keith Short and Associates at 618-254-0055 today for a free consultation. back. Back with OSF Healthcare, 9:25 is the time on this 29th day of January. We're learning more about the Rapid Diagnosis Clinic, and it really is such a innovative way to accelerate cancer detection. And, going into this a little bit more, we got Brandy and Dana in with us. Take me through the process, I guess, a little bit more and what that looks like. Is it, how do we refer in? Is it coming, we talked about the emergency room. Can we do it ourselves? What does that kind of look like, I guess, A to Z in a way for our audience?
So emergency room, yes. So if that doctor refers in, or I reviewed it on an abnormal finding report. Otherwise, primary care will refer to us. Typically with that, it's if you don't have a diagnosis is where you would want to come to the rapid diagnosis side. If you have a diagnosis, normally they're going to refer straight to oncology. So that's one way to get in. And then self-referral. Say you've went in and you had a test done, you don't have a primary care, and you know that there's something abnormal on there that you're like, I need this taken care of. I just need this assessed. What's going on? You can self-refer by contacting me.
That's really important to know, too, because I'm sure a lot of, everyone falls under all of the three of those categories, too. So, we go in, we get tested, we get seen, things come back. What's, I guess, step one after that initial conversation, that initial test with you guys?
After they've been in to see me. So I will just, I'll talk them through what needs to be done. If they need further imaging, I will order any imaging. I will order any labs. They'll come back and see me to discuss all of this. And then if they need to make it to biopsy, if it's still concerning and they need a biopsy, then I will get that ordered. And then our policy is then they follow up with Dr. Sandu, our oncologist, for the results and then next steps.
Well, and we were talking a little bit during the break and just kind of mentioned the bedside. Can we go into that a little bit more and what we were trying to break down there?
Yeah, the bedside on, all ends. With dealing with where we work, it's just we are just such a great team there, and you have that closeness. We're a smaller facility, so you have that bedside with Brandy and myself, and just that sit down, take time, answer your questions, leave the room answered, and then if you do end up have to get to Dr. Sandu, she just compassion out of this world. She comes in, she takes all the time needed with her patients. She always makes sure that their questions are answered. Our patients typically, they don't mind that sometimes if we're running late because they know they're going to get just as much time with her as the person before did. She sits down with them. She makes sure the questions are answered. She talks through if there is treatment that's needed, what that looks like. Just, the compassion on the bedside, it's there. It's personal.
Well, and that's really important. And, we've talked about before all the great things that the Cancer Center does that OSF has and, Moeller. And, whether it's through the clinics or just through the support that's, given through various services or organizations or just internally through you guys to family members even, hey, here's how we can connect the dots, or you go down the gauntlet. You guys really try to cover that. And I think it's really important you add this to it.
It is.
And I'm sure you've heard a lot of feedback already on, how grateful, folks are that this was available. And I'm sure that's the best type of, I guess you could say, paycheck you could get from anybody is just hearing how this helps somebody.
That we helped get them to where they needed to be sooner, quicker. Yeah.
Well, and the fact that I love too is it could be a self-referral, because how many times do you know somebody that says, it doesn't happen every day, but just, something's been just not feeling right for maybe a year or two, or it could just been a couple of months. And even just to go and have that peace of mind is worth so much more too.
It is. And and sometimes because I've had some calls, patients aren't sure, do they qualify for rapid diagnosis because if it's something suggestive of cancer. But you can call me and I can assess you over the phone and say, okay, no, this doesn't really qualify for our clinic, but then I can help get you to the direction you need. And I've even helped, if say that patient didn't have a primary care, okay, well, it's not our services, but let me help set you up with, a primary care and get you to where you need to be.
Even if they don't utilize us for the rapid diagnosis
it's just
clinic.
getting them where
really
they need
important.
to be. Yeah.
Well, and now, I guess the other thing is, if it's a self-referral, how do you accept, public-private insurance, so the same stuff as normal?
Yes. Yep.
Really important. What else should we talk about when it comes to the rapid diagnosis clinic for right now? Is there anything that the public should know or that you guys have heard a lot of questions on a specific topic over the phone?
Specific question.
I think we basically covered. Yeah. I mean, really, if you feel like you could potentially have cancer, if you're having these symptoms, even if you have a primary care and you just feel like, I've been in my primary care, I don't feel like my symptoms are getting getting resolved. You know, you can still self-refer. You can have a primary care and still self-refer as well.
That's really important.
And you can call Dana at 618-433-7607. She will get you taken care of.
Yeah, and if you everything on our end, if it comes out and we don't need to see you anymore for follow-up, then, it's like we release you back to primary care. And then if needs are needed later, then, we're here.
Well, and that's, again, where the Moeller Cancer Center comes right back into play and all the great services you provide. And you guys can learn more about all the really just the experience and the pedigree of really just care that you're going to receive at OSF, and also just all the other great attributes of the center. We've had so many conversations. You can see them at RiverBender.com/daily show. We'll do a write-up on this as well to make sure that we touch base on all of this really important information. Thank you guys so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
9:32, a little bit of change on this Thursday morning. We'll take a quick break. Come back, more Daily Show next.